Mom and stepdad asks me to have S*X with the stepdad. She is a piece of crap for allowing and enabling such behavior. My mom had me at 18 right out of high school. Long story short, my dad died at 19 while he was away at uni. Then my mom remarried at 21 and had my sisters. My stepdad, we'll call him Scott, was the only father I've known. He's been a great father, nothing out of the ordinary. Absolutely perfect parenting until I turned about 19. I remember Scott was becoming a little more touchy than normal, and a little too personal. He would offer me wine, I declined, and would ask me about my sex life after one too many glasses. I brushed it off because I thought maybe he was being a nosy father and just wanted to make sure his daughter wasn't having sex. Then this kind of stuff continued, to the point where my stepdad tried to kiss me last year. I told my mom and she just laughed and told me, that's how he gets after too many drinks. I knew then I had to make plans to leave, so I started saving up. After that incident things died down a bit until my mom got pregnant at 39. It's a higher risk pregnancy so she's on a lot of bed rest, and taking extra care of herself per her doctor. A couple of weeks ago, my mom and Scott sat me down and told me her doctor said she should avoid sex during her pregnancy due to various health reasons I won't get into. They asked me if I could have sex with Scott just until she was able to have sex again. Of course, I said no. I was livid, I was crying. She told me she'd be okay with it, and she'd be in the room as well. I told her that was even worse. Like, what are they thinking? I have enough money now for an apartment, I got approved, I'm signing my lease next week. My parents are ignoring me and the whole house is full of tension. My younger sisters don't understand what's going on and my mom told me not to say anything. But my sisters are smart, they know something is really up and won't stop asking me about it, especially the oldest. She came to me crying today and told me I better tell her what's going on right now. I didn't say anything. So any advice? What do I tell her? What do I say to the younger ones? How do I tell a 16-year-old about this without being inappropriate or bashing my parents? Response to OP: bashing your parents would be unfairly putting them down for something benign. What they've done is wrong and sick on so many levels. Forget about not wanting to be inappropriate because it's more important to prevent you and them from dealing with more abuse. It is highly likely that your other sisters will be subjected to this if they have not already, and they are younger and more easily victimized. You could speak to your teen sisters privately and ask them if they have had any uncomfortable experiences with your stepdad. Like him talking too much about sex or making advances, and make it clear that you're a safe person to confide in. I would also reach out to a trusted family member or someone you can ask for help from. OP: last year when he tried to kiss me, Child Protective Services interviewed all the girls, and the girls were very confused because their dad has never said or done anything to them inappropriately. My aunt, who is a child therapist and called Child Protective Services to begin with, talked to each girl and said there were no signs of foul play, which upset her because she really hates Scott, but made her happy because he's done nothing to them. Child Protective Services said it was like a roommate complaining about sexual assault since I'm not his biological daughter. My aunt has been fighting to make my mom leave for years, but since Scott is not abusive to her or the girls, and makes a lot of money, she won't leave. But my aunt has actually mentioned he's been manipulating her with kindnesses all these years so she would be okay with him having sex with me when I became an adult, and it worked. My aunt and I don't think he's going to hurt the other girls, but you never know. We most likely will call child services again. OP: my aunt and I are probably going to call again and try to get the girls out and with her, or my grandparents who want them to stay there. My concern is telling the girls. I would be devastated if I was 16 and someone told me my dad tried to have sex with my sister, so now I have to live with my grandparents. So what do I say to her? Do I break her heart? Response to OP: yes. You need to break her heart so that she will not be groomed into a sexual relationship with him. Then you can encourage her to get therapy. Another response: do I break her heart? You will never be the one to break her heart in this situation. It's your mom and stepdad who are breaking her heart. You're just the one who has to tell her. None of this is your fault. You are not responsible for the trauma inflicted on anybody here. Much easier said than felt, I know, but I can't articulate how strongly I believe this. Their trauma will involve you, but it will never be because of you. You're a good sister. A really, really amazing sister. Update: the original post is above, too long. Didn't read? Basically, my mom and stepdad asked me to have sex with my stepdad. I declined, freaked out, and am now leaving. My concern is for my sisters. My aunt did what she said she was going to do. She barged in with 3 other people, one of them a social worker friend of hers, who was off duty, and my uncle. None of them are allowed at the house, so as soon as Scott found out they were there, he called the police. Before the police even showed up, I told my 16-year-old sister and the 14-year-olds what happened. The 16-year-old got angry at her dad. She was walking around the house ranting at her dad and crying. Eventually she decided to come with my aunt and I, and then we would figure out where she could go from then on. However, the two 14-year-olds did not believe me. They actually started laughing. Then they got angry and told me I was trying to destroy our family and how could you make up a sick lie. It got to the point where they threw my and my 16-year sister's stuff out the window. By that time the cops came and told my aunt, uncle, and the social worker they had to leave the property. The social worker friend let the cops know everything that's been going on. The cops didn't care, they just cared about the noise and the trespassers. So I, my 16-year-old sister, my aunt and uncle and their friend left. Very soon after my grandparents came and got the other 3 girls, after the 14-year-olds called them and came to their senses. I found out from my grandma that one of the 14-year-olds confronted her dad and he didn't deny anything. In fact, he called me a whore and said I should have had any problems doing what he asked. That's when they packed a bag and called my grandparents. My grandparents explained everything separately to the little one. She told my grandpa she prefers him to our dad because grandpa doesn't yell at her. As much as that pained me, I hope it's enough to keep the girls at my grandparents for good. My 16-year-old sister is going to emancipate herself and stay with either our grandparents or our aunt. Child Protective Services was called, but it was my grandparents this time. I have multiple screenshots on my and my aunt's phone of my mother incriminating herself, so we will be able to file charges and hopefully get Scott on the sex offender registry. That way the girls can stay with their grandparents permanently. Thank you all for the support. I appreciate each and every one of your comments, and to the survivors who shared their stories, you're all so strong. Thank you. OP on why aunt wasn't allowed over. Because they hate Scott and know he's a creep. Many years ago when I was about 13, at my younger sister's gender reveal party. My cousin, my uncle's daughter, who is trans, decided at university that she was female and came back as female. We all accepted and loved her the same except Scott, who got drunk and lifted her skirt and said, "Do you still have your boy parts?" That's when my uncle beat the shit out of him and knocked over a couple of tables. From then on, half of my family wasn't allowed back at the house per a trespassing order. They knew then that he was an absolute perv. But I, as a young child, didn't fully comprehend it. Good comment, the cops didn't care. Why is this always their fucking default setting? Now to the next story, story 2. I, 26 female, want my husband, 27 male, to immediately block one of his friends Kyla, 27 female. He thinks I'm overreacting, and wants opinions from some cool-headed people on if I'm just acting crazy, or this is something that would cross the line for you. My husband has a group of 8 friends he has been close with since his college days. Kyla is one of his friends. When my husband and I started dating, he introduced me to all of them, and everyone was very friendly. I used to hang out with them frequently. I am an introvert, and so is my husband. I would always ask him to spend time alone as being in social settings just saps all my energy away. His friends, and especially Kyla, always made it a point to tell me how he hangs out with them less after he started dating me. Kyla also had a weird energy around me. If I was with my husband, she would be the friendliest with me. However, as soon as he walked away she acted like I did not exist. My husband hates to be touched by others, we both are neurodivergent, but Kyla would always tease him by trying to hug him, mess his hair, etc. I never felt she was flirting with him, but just teasing him to make him annoyed. Overall, she just feels like a person who has a severe social boundary issue. We got married 2 years ago, and things have been great between us. Last week, we had our 2nd marriage anniversary and invited a bunch of people. His friends stayed back after all the guests left, and we were all drinking and chatting. One of his friends, Jen, became a bit tipsy and started complimenting me on how beautiful our house is, how I care for my husband, and how he has changed for the better since marriage. Everyone was laughing at my husband at how much of a slob he was when he was single. Jen then pointed at Kyla and said, "You better pay up, cause you had bet that their marriage would not even last for 2 years. Everyone became silent and started changing the topic. I also did not want to spoil the mood, and let it go, but it stuck in my head. After everyone left, I asked my husband what Jen was talking about. He also had noticed Jen saying that and was ready with a full explanation. He told me the story of what happened when we got engaged. When he proposed to me, he had not told his friends that he was going to do that. We went on a trip to Puerto Rico, and he surprised me there. We put our engagement pictures on Instagram while we were on the trip, and it was a big surprise to everyone as we were only dating for 1 year. When he came back and met all his friends, everyone congratulated him. However, Kyla started ranting about how he was a fool to propose so quickly, and she felt that I was not the right girl for him. Seems like she said some unkind things about me, implying I was a gold digger. My husband's family is wealthy, but so is mine. She had said that she bet we would break up within 2 years if we got married. That is why Jen was taunting her about how happy my husband was with me. I was very furious at this point, as I feel this is something he should have told me. I asked him to tell me truthfully if he had ever dated Kyla or had any history with her, as he has always told me that he has never dated anyone from his friend group. He said that he has of course not dated or hooked up with Kyla. However, Kyla had asked him out a few times when they were in college, and he always politely declined. I asked why he said no to her, and he said he just does not have any romantic feelings for her. I can see that because my husband does have a type based on me or the other people he has dated in the past, and Kyla is the opposite of that. I am just mad at her for saying bad things about me, especially after knowing that we were already engaged and betting against my marriage. I told my husband that he needs to minimize contact with Kyla and she is not invited to parties at our house anymore. He feels I am being too harsh for something she said almost 3 years ago. He also pointed out that she has been very supportive to both of us, and also helped a lot during our wedding arrangements. He feels she is just blunt and forthright when she speaks, but does not mean those things. He told me to take some time and calm down, and we would revisit this topic in a week. He is worried this will completely change the dynamics within his friend group. Am I the A for wanting him to block her and stop inviting her to our house? Do you think I'm overreacting? I think betting against our marriage and bad-mouthing me behind my back seems like a huge betrayal. I am also mad at my husband that he kept this fact from me, and also never told me that Kyla asked him out during college days. Am I just being crazy and reactive? How would you react in this situation? I don't want to distance my husband from his friends, but I also do not want to see that bitch Kyla's face again. Relevant comments. Commenter. Info. How has Kyla acted since the wedding? Has her behavior changed? You describe a bad behavior in the past tense, so one might believe she's not doing those things anymore. Does she still exhibit boundary issues with your husband? OP. Yes, her behavior with my husband has not changed at all after marriage. However, she is the same with all other friends too. With me, she is fake nice, where she acts like we are best friends in front of my husband, and barely talks to me when he is not around. Commenter. What did he think when you told him that she's totally different when he leaves? OP. He just says she does not know you that well, just ignore her. She has never said anything negative to my face. However, as a girl, you just know when someone does not like you. It's hard to explain to him that it's your feeling and not based on anything she has specifically said or done. Commenter. On blocking her. Especially with the physical contact too. She's so clearly into the husband, and the fact that he's not shutting it down means he likes the extra attention from her. It's one thing to get a friendly hug or maybe an occasional touch on the shoulder from a platonic friend, but shit like playing with his hair. That is 100% flirty behavior. And the fact that he's not shutting it down himself is gross. OP. I have to reply here. So my husband is physically allergic to people touching him. He has a startled response, either he jerks them away or tenses up, when someone hugs him and his face turns red. The weird thing is he can hug his parents or sister and does not get the reaction. He never had that issue with me, even when we first started dating. However, even if my sister or parents hug him, he gets that response. So the fact that he shuts down any touch from Kyla is an understatement. Mini update in comments. Just remembered about my post and logged into the account after many months. Things were really horrible for the last few months and that bitch Kyla almost ruined my life. I don't even know how to describe it. I might write about it next week as I saw a lot of messages asking for an update. I just want other women to be careful of such snakes. Update post. I had posted almost 6 months ago regarding my husband's friend Kyla betting that our marriage would not last for more than 2 years. I was upset and had asked my husband to stop talking to her, because she disrespected our marriage. Since then, Kyla has pulled some really pathetic shit to stir up issues between my husband and I. After I wrote the post, my husband was trying to convince me that Kyla was just joking when she made those comments, and it happened so long ago. Kyla messaged me the next day apologizing for her comments and also not making more efforts to connect with me. I accepted her apology and started warming up to her. She started inviting me for brunches and girls' night out with them, and I felt included in their friend group. One day during brunch, I brought up why Kyla really thought our marriage would not work out. Kyla told me that my husband broke up with his long-term ex-girlfriend Joanna 2 months before he started dating me. I knew that part, but Kyla told me that my husband was really heartbroken after the breakup and swore to her that he would stay away from dating anyone. When he met me, my mom set us up on a blind date. She was surprised how quickly we hit it off. Kyla thought that I was his rebound relationship. But when he proposed to me within a year, she was worried that he was making a very rash decision. My husband's family is rich, and she thought it was unwise for him to marry so quickly without knowing me well. She did not know enough about me and that my family is also very well off. That is why she was concerned that I was taking advantage of his vulnerable state. She apologized to me and said that it was wrong for her to assume that, and over the years, she has seen how happy we are together. I appreciated her honesty, and Kyla and I became good friends since then and started hanging out more frequently. Around 2 months ago, my husband went to a conference in Seattle for 3 nights. After he came back, I got a "Hey girly" message on Instagram from Joanna, his ex. She told me that my husband contacted her a few months ago and they met in Seattle during the conference, and she could give me more proof if I wanted. I went through my husband's Instagram, but he seems to have blocked her. I made a mistake of mentioning it to Kyla, as she was the only person honest to me about Joanna, and she went into detective mode to help me. She was still friends with Joanna on Instagram, as they all went to college together, and opened her profile. The message sent to me was from a different profile, with no followers. We checked her photos, and we saw that she attended the same conference as my husband did in Seattle. Kyla suggested I should ask Joanna for more proof and also ask my husband about the same before assuming the worst. I asked my husband if he met Joanna, and he said yes. He told me he just met her in the expo hall and chatted with her for a few minutes. I asked him why he did not mention it to me, and he told me it was just a quick conversation, and he did not think too much of it. He asked me how I knew it, and I told him that Kyla mentioned that she saw her pictures at the conference, and I thought he might have seen her. I messaged Joanna again to share more proof. She told me that they have been chatting for the past 2 months and plan to attend the conference together. She shared a log of their messages, where my husband was actively flirting with her. The screenshots did look legit, but I did not see any of those messages in my husband's Instagram profile. I talked to Kyla about it, as I did not know what to believe. I messaged Joanna to tell us what happened between them, and she told me that he invited her to the room at nights and they hooked up, but she does not have any photos as he insisted. They do not take any pictures together. I immediately realized it was fake and messaged Joanna to fuck off. She kept on insisting they were telling the truth, and she spent the nights with my husband in his room on all 3 nights. I told her that my husband and I were playing video games, Sea of Thieves, for almost 2-3 hours each night after his dinner, as that is what we do to catch up when he is away. Unless Joanna was sitting behind him watching us play until he fell asleep, she was full of shit. I also told my husband about the whole incident and he told me I should have come to him sooner. He told me that he has gone no contact with Joanna ever since they broke up and he just ran into her at the conference. He told me I could check his phone and everything to verify that he has blocked her everywhere. I told him I do not need to, and Joanna might have run into him and just decided to fuck his life by making up stuff. When all the friends met that weekend, my husband and I told everyone about how Joanna sent messages to me and faked everything. Kyla was also telling what happened as she had told her about it. Kyla accidentally let it slip out that it's luckily, we are nerds and played video games at nights before sleeping, else, props go to Joanna for making up a convincing story. I never told Kyla about the video game stuff. I just told her Joanna is full of shit and I blocked her. It took me until I came home to connect the dots. I told my husband about it and he confronted Kyla. She denied it and told him that I told her about the video game stuff on a phone call, but I don't remember doing it. We have since decided to keep our distance from Kyla. Kyla has called me multiple times to meet up, but I just make up reasons that I'm busy. I do not know why she did it, but at this point, I am not interested in it, and we have decided to just see her on social occasions and avoid hanging out with her as much as possible. I feel stupid that she played me for a fool, and I should have not gone to her when Joanna started messaging me. In hindsight, it seems suspicious that Kyla started telling me about Joanna and at the same time, Joanna claimed to have an affair with my husband. I do not know what her intentions are, but I am mad enough that I will avoid her as much as possible. I wish I had some real proof that she was the one messaging me, so that I could expose her. I also feel bad for suspecting my husband. But I am glad my husband and I are on the same page now. Relevant comments. Commenter, does your husband also believe that Kyla made up a fake Instagram account, pretending to be Joanna? Because that's pretty psycho behavior. OP, yes. He believes me because I told him that I never told Kyla why I thought the account was fake. It's possible she guessed it if I ever mentioned to her that we play video games at night, but it seems suspicious she would guess that was exactly the reason why I realized the account was fake. Commenter, why didn't you try to message her real Insta since you knew the one she used to message you wasn't her main? Why not message her main account? That would have cleared it up pretty quick, I would think. Commenter, Why didn't you try to message her real Insta since you knew the one she used to message you wasn't her main? Why not message her main account? That would have cleared it up pretty quick, I would think. OP, her Instagram was private. I did not want to follow her as it would have looked really bad for me to add her, when my husband has blocked her. The only way I could see her Instagram was when Kyla showed it to me on her phone. To another commenter, trust me, I thought about this. Firstly, I will look crazy if I reach out to Joanna, my husband's ex, behind his back. Secondly, even if it was her messaging me, she would just lie and tell me it was not her. I also cannot disregard the fact that I started getting messages a week after my husband ran into her and told her that he was happily married to me. I have to accept that Kyla, if it was her, will get away with the BS. We do not have any proof it was her, and all we could do is distance ourselves from her. Commenter, why did you lie to your husband about the fact that this woman had messaged you in the first place? You are the problem here. OP, agree, I should have told him right away. I tried to be sneaky to know if he really met her at the conference. I was half expecting him to deny it if he was trying to hide something happened. I think I let my insecurity get the worst of me. Lessons learned. Commenter, did he bring a gaming PC or Xbox with him to a work conference? OP, we both use Steam.
Thank you for watching. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so and hit the notification bell to stay updated with more shocking real-life stories happening around you.